Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. Today's episode is going to have a guest that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it is good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is building rapport. There are so many ways to build rapport, but I would like to introduce you to one that is based on the art of subtlety. When speaking to a possible seller or contractor or even a private money lender, rapport can be created by matching and mirroring. This is done through the tone and volume of your voice along with your posture. If a person talks very loud and fast, you don't want to reply with a slow, soft voice. You want to match the way they talk. If the person you are speaking with is sitting very tall in their chair, you too want to sit tall and mirror their posture. This subtle matching and mirroring will allow you to connect with someone on the personal level while establishing a strong foundation for a professional relationship. So, next time you are meeting a prospective client or future team member, try to match and mirror them. You will see how quickly building rapport will propel you towards a solid connection. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us my new friend, Marty Happle. So welcome to the show, Marty.
Thank you so much, Jen. Great to be here. I'm honored. Thank you.
Hey, so you are in New Jersey. You're actually born and raised there. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, just born in Paterson, New Jersey. A lot of history there, and it's a good place to be from, not to be in at the moment. And, come from simple beginnings. Both my parents didn't go to high school. And so we were just raised to, if you want it, you got to go get it, and that was it. And I'm the youngest of seven kids. So we all did pretty good. So I'm proud of that, but definitely it wasn't like it was all handed to us either. So.
Wow, 7. Jeesh, that's a lot.
Yes.
And
yes,
I know you started with a little bit with your brothers, something.
Yeah, my when I was in high school, I'm the youngest by far. I was like a latecomer to the family, and so my siblings are all a lot older than me. My brother's 11 years older than me. And he got with 2 childhood friends. They started buying up like burnouts and just highly distressed properties in the 80s. And they just kept building that up to about 1,000 units. So in high school, I would work with him during the summers to, just gut the properties and help carry sheetrock and then do evictions, lockouts and different things like that. And my brother did a lot of the property management side of it, and it was a lot. So I saw a lot, and I actually didn't like it, and why, I don't know. I can't really put my.
Well, I mean, that's got to be tough kicking people out and dealing with that,
Yeah. Like we would put their stuff in, but actually, and for them, they were good. Like we would go with the constable and the sheriff's officer and lock them out and have to get all their stuff out of the apartment and put it in. We would save it. We wouldn't put it on the garbage though. We would save it. We would put it in the basement or something. Let them come back and get it later if they could. So things like, seeing people cry As a teenager, you're seeing people cry, getting kicked out, and but I know too, as a landlord, if you're not evicting your non-paying tenants, you're doing society a disservice. You have to keep people on their toes and keep them moving forward. It's like usually a good thing for people when they get kicked out. It pushes them forward a lot of times. But so it was. But I didn't see the wealth part of it at all at that age either. I didn't see the wealth accumulation part of it. I wasn't able to connect the dots there at that age, even through my 20s.
And you got back into real estate, years later, but with notes, is that correct?
Yeah, actually, the job that I had in ministry, actually, but we were highly active ministry, and we bought a lot of property. We actually flipped a house. A lady came to us, was losing her house, and we got her out of it, and she was actually walk away with a few bucks. And we flipped that house, and that was like my first flip that I managed. That was like a long time ago. I didn't even know. That's like 2003 or 4. And the house had a bad oil tank, mold that needed remediate, like full-blown white suit remediation. We had all kinds of stuff with that. It was kind of funny at the time. And we were going nuts. And I had to go to the New Jersey DEP. And we probably can't do that now, but I went into the building and found the cubicle of a guy holding our paperwork for the NFA letter, no further action letter. I'm sure and I had to and it was just like sitting on his desk, and the guy just for weeks, I'm sure. And I went to this cubicle. He's looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, I need that NFA. And he gave it to me.
Wow.
So things like that. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Now I think you probably, COVID and everything, can't go into buildings anymore, but and then we were buying a lot of property, and we actually bought a commercial property and gutted it and started to do work on it. So I was learning a lot of stuff with purchasing large purchases like that, seeing how, different aspects of rehab that I, especially in the commercial side, removing a 30,000 square foot refrigerator from a food distributing company. We bought a warehouse that we were going to turn into a church, and it was pretty wild. We got shut down by the city twice, things like that. Yeah, so it was fun. The stories I can tell there.
Yes,
it was funny. Yeah, it was funny. Yes, but yeah. So I started to learn real estate there, and then in 2011, I was on the board for my HOA, which is also some real estate experience. I was the president of the board, and one of my board members' neighbors was a note buyer, and he was saying, when I buy mortgages, I'm like, "What do you mean you buy mortgages?" He's like, "I buy." I didn't think an individual could buy mortgages, And so I started going to these note meetups with him outside Philly from New Jersey. I drive an hour and whatever to get there monthly, and I learned so much there. So I started buying non-performing seconds, and that was good. And then but the inventory of those, as everybody knows who does it, dried up after a while. So I went into flipping.
And sorry to cut you off, but you and I met at an NLP training in Atlanta, and it was funny because I was sitting by you, and it turns out that you also did the same education program, which is Fortune Builders. And so I was like, "You're my people." There's a ton of Fortune Builders people there, but learning about NLP, which is neuro linguistics programming, which will help us with working with, everyone, and just working on communication. And part of my badassery bestowment had to do with building rapport. So I'm sure that sounded a little bit familiar to you, but I want to dive into this project. And I know you picked something that's going to be great for the listeners to learn about. So let's hear a little bit about this project.
It was a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, nice, big 2-car garage in a development that was built in 1970. It was about 2,150 square feet, about there, 2,200 square feet. Great layout. It was an hour south of me, though, which was at that time a problem for me for the logistics of it. And I got the list. It was on the MLS. A friend of mine who's a realtor in the area, a full-time realtor in the area, very active, said, "I think this would be a good one." And it was listed at $265, say. And so I went to go look at it, and I saw termite damage. And now again, if you're going to change the siding on a house, termite damage is really not a problem because you could just replace the wood and
Right.
then when you take the siding off, just replace the wood, no big deal. And but this we were going to keep the siding on, so I was a little nervous, but I was confident that it wasn't that bad, the damage. It could be remediated from the inside. And so I put an offer like $215, and like months went by, and all of a sudden my friend called me up. He's like, "Hey, they want your highest and best." I said, "Well, tell them they have it." They accepted the $215, and then right away I thought, "Oh no, maybe it's too high." Oh man, did I? So the projected ARV was about 390 to 410.
Nice.
I would say needed a good 70,000 work.
Okay.
So we get going. Now, a big part of the problem, the contractor that I chose also had a job. He was a corrections officer also. So he did like 4 on, 3 off, whatever like that. And I didn't know that though when I hired him. I thought he was a full-time GC. And then he had a crew. So while that was ready to go, and I used private money, and then the person who gave me the money wanted to use this attorney.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that.
In New Jersey.
About the private money. How did you know this private money lender?
It's family member.
Oh, okay. And what were...
Yeah, real private.
What percentage were you paying?
Okay, so this was a family member, 12% with no payments. So it was pay at the end. But they wanted to use their attorney to draw up the loan docs, which I'm not against, because most hard money, you use their attorney to draw up the loan docs.
Gotcha.
And usually in northern New Jersey, it's a very attorney-heavy real estate industry, I should say, or they use attorneys to close. This was in southern New Jersey, which they don't use attorneys to close, they use title companies.
Wow.
So yeah, I was going to close, and I close most of my stuff without attorneys now, unless it looks a little sticky. I still buck the system and close without attorneys. But when this attorney that was going to do the hard money or the private money loan, he came out and he was like, "All right, we need a phase 1 environmental."
What is a phase 1 environmental?
It's like if you buy commercial property. So if you're buying something and there may be, over the years, oil, large amounts of chemicals being moved, or
Gotcha.
You buy a gas station, that's what I said. So I'm not buying a gas station. I'm buying a house in the development, for crying out loud, you do a tank sweep, and I don't like to do home inspections. I'll call on a contractor if I see something that is sketchy that I don't know or haven't experienced yet. But home inspectors, I don't really trust them, I guess I should say.
Okay, listeners, beware though, because I love my home inspector, so I fully trust, but that's just a situation you're in. But I strongly suggest that people get home inspections, but keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, and yeah, but definitely, Jen is 100% correct. Get a home inspector.
Thank you.
But anyway, so I was buying this house without a home inspector, and this attorney took 7 weeks. I got a notice from them, time is of the essence, twice from the seller, and I'm trying, and I'm trying to tell the family member I'm dealing with, like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And he wanted to charge like $2,500. I'm like, wow. What? That's crazy. $1,500 is the most I paid a lender's attorney. So anyway, it took 7 weeks. Now in that, here's the sob story. This is where the sob story begins. In that, what I didn't know is that this contractor was losing his guys because he had another job and he wasn't really busy enough. But he was a nice guy, but he presented himself like he was,
like he had a whole team,
tons of work.
Yeah.
Right. And he's doing this. And So actually, the guy, what it turns out was the crew, he had a crew of 4 guys that were kind of like family, and they started the process. When it finally closed, they were able to start, and they did some work. So what they did was, the termite damage was a bit worse than I anticipated, but they were able to still fix it from the inside, which was incredible. It was great. So I didn't have to take the siding off the house, which would have killed the budget. And so I was able to keep the siding on and just paint it. And but the guys quit and left because it was moving slow. What I found out afterwards was the business was slow those 7 weeks, and they went with someone who was more consistent. So
quick
now
question.
This guy is scrambling.
What was your estimated timeline when you started this project?
3 months.
Okay, and then
on a long end.
That was eaten up by the attorney at the beginning there. Yeah, that's crazy.
Correct. Yeah, okay. yeah. This attorney. Yeah, I was in a war with this guy, and the thing is, and too, use an attorney if you need to, but if you don't like what they're telling you, it's okay to ask another attorney to get another opinion. What I find in real estate is that, or just with legal advice, a lot of them are one-trick ponies. But they want to answer you like they know maybe, or they still might want to help you.
Right.
And so I found that I've been given a lot of different advice. I got my quotation marks up for you. I got some different advice from attorneys where, doing further investigation, I've been able to get a better answer and actually go with something. And my advice is this: if an attorney always says that's illegal, always ask the attorney, it's illegal. Wow, what law is it breaking? And then what's the law that's being broken? And because they use that term, it's illegal, but it's really not illegal all the time, as much as they don't advise, or it's a clause in a contract, not a law.
Or it's just a scapegoat because they don't know how to answer it or deal with it.
Correct, yes.
And my suggestion also to the listeners is reach out to your local network of investor friends, whether it be through RIA or meetup groups, and find investor-friendly attorneys or title companies, because it's huge. Some of them don't know how to deal with hard money lenders or private money lenders, etc. So very important to lean on your network of local folks to find out who knows what they're doing and is not going to give you the runaround and tell you something's illegal when it certainly is not. So excellent point.
Yeah.
So keep going.
And that's the thing. Yeah. So and then with experience, you'll learn, and really you want to get to the point where you find an attorney that you're working well enough with. And again, the intent is not to break the law or to skirt the system. My intent is to be as efficient as possible with an attorney and be able to get the job done, and not hire a deal killer, but hire someone that understands that, okay, oh, wait, you actually want to do this deal. Yeah, that's what I'm calling you. I want to do the deal. I don't want you to find out what's wrong with it so I can run from it. I want you to find out how can it work so that I can close on this thing, or I can acquire it or overcome this obstacle. I think is the best mindset. You want to find someone with that mindset. A lot of them had the mindset of, I'm going to show you what's wrong with all this. And then, so anyway, So this attorney, really 7 weeks.
That's crazy.
And it killed. And again, I got this private money, a great deal. It's family. It's, so there's so many, as this cauldron of stuff starting to mix up, and it's like, oh man, this is boiling into something good. So this contractor could sell the moon, and really just didn't do a good job and drag things out. I was trying to get there as much as possible, which was also tough because it was an hour away. And then what I was doing at that time was just really tough. I had really small kids at that time too. So that was the main thing with me. I think the problem is, and a lot of you people halfway through this business or getting into it and experiencing some hardships, I always tell people you need a tough constitution to be in real estate. But, I kind of had this mentality for some reason, I don't know, like that. I thought that people keep their word the way I do, or they want to come through the way I do, and that it'll work itself out, and I had a hard time in certain areas having that tough conversation. confronting people and having that tough conversation. I would rather it just, we all be friends and all make money and all, you know, fly over the rainbow, whatever, you know, and it just doesn't happen.
That is
It
so
doesn't
true.
happen. And I just felt really defeated. I felt like I just wanted it over with at that point.
So how long did
And
how long did it take to do all the repairs?
a year.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was able to list it in a year. And that was with me going, I did the garage floor. I'm not a contractor by no means. I could paint a tiny bit. And the house was like, I made an awesome master closet in there. It was amazing. It was because it was built in the 70s. So I had a big master, but had a small closet still. And I was able to build a nice master closet, walk in, and the house was great. I loved the house. I had all the bedrooms upstairs, perfect layout. Like little things though, like the scooter strips and tile in the bathroom were just not done right, and all these little things that just weren't perfect. So it sat for a while. I only got one offer on the house.
Oh my goodness.
And it was a military couple, actually, a husband and wife, both officers in the military, and they're coming to the end of their tenure, and I think they were switching to the reserves, and they had small kids, and so it was a perfect house for them. And I guess they was going to do some of the work, just a little touch up to finish it. But it was really, it was like one of those things where I just wanted it to go away.
Right.
And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when I think about it. You know, I'm glad to share this with people, just so you don't feel bad that, you know, it's something that, you know, you're human, and you just have this victories on the other side of going through this, but you have to keep going. You can't quit.
I love that.
So,
and don't feel bad because we had a project for 2 years. So I feel your pain, but let's break this out and let's go through some of these final numbers. What did you end up? Your original ARV was, you said, how much?
$390.
Okay. And what did you end up listing it for?
$389.
Okay. And what were your estimated repairs? You said was around 70. What'd you end up spending on repairs?
About 95.
Oh, okay. And holding costs, you had this held much longer, but it was private money. And I think you said you were paying 12%?
12%. Yeah. So it was, and I had my own cash, most of my own cash for the rehab. I got the purchase and like 15 grand, I believe it was, total. So I was able to put 15 grand towards the rehab, and then from the private money, and then the rest was my own money. And so it was about 245 I got altogether. So that's what closing costs. So it was so I had 15 grand left over after I closed, and I was able to use that for rehab, and then the rest I had to put in, which was 80 grand.
Wow. And so you had this one offer while it was under contract. Were there any issues?
It wasn't too bad. What ended up happening is we listed it at 389, and we price changed it to 379, 369, 364. And then what happened was the private money, which I knew in advance, had to go back. There was no ifs or ands or buts about it. So through that whole time, the price down, which I believe as a seller looks horrible. As a flipper seller, it looks horrible. In this market, maybe not, but it always looks bad when you're bringing the price down.
Right.
It never helps you, and it never feels good either. But so why this is really a nightmare is I ended up selling it at 325.
Wow.
Because they needed the money back, and there was no more negotiating it. So yeah. So
all right, I'm afraid to ask. What was the profit?
0.
Did you lose money on this one?
Yes. I lost money on it. Yes. And so for everybody out there, I gave up. I literally I gave up keeping track. So to tell you like how much money did I lose, like I don't even really know to the penny. You know, I think I even guessed at it I underestimated it a little bit at tax time. I don't want to go to jail. So, it was really it's embarrassing. It really is that I just really had a property that was good. And so there was, looking back, my learning lessons are to, was there a way to avoid that 7-week delay in the beginning? And then there definitely is a way to get a little more aggressive with contractors. And so right now, a lot of what I do is I'm constantly marketing for contractors and keeping like a bullpen going of contractors. So like Fortune Builders Teachers is a shelf life for contractors. Yep. You have to keep them. And the times I did have good success with contractors is where one time I told the guy, you know what, don't come. I have somebody else coming tomorrow. Don't worry about it. And we'll figure out where we are, and boom. And they were there and they finished the job, And one time I did do that, and I did replace them, another contractor. So as you can see, it's been great with contractors for me. But you have to do that, and it's not fun. But if you want to be in the business, you have to. If you're not, like your husband's a GC. Yep. I don't know how that, but I'm sure he's subbing a lot out. So even with the subs, you got to keep the subs, a lot of it, or employees. It's the same thing. If you are a GC, you got employees. It's the same thing. You got employees that you're constantly rotating, especially in contracting. So yeah, it's tough. It's not sexy, but that's business.
So let me ask this though. Did this make you quit real estate altogether?
No.
How many projects do you have going on right now?
I have 4, technically 5 under construction right now. One just got shut down by the time.
So the moral of the story here is, yes, there will be tough projects, and it's not always in the green, but you keep going, and you've since made fortunes above that, correct? Yes. Definitely. Well, I appreciate
and then actually, yeah. Well, and actually, this isn't the worst thing that happened to me, but the other stuff is just too complicated to talk about on a podcast. So yeah, if I didn't quit, there's no reason for you to quit. Trust me. Yep. I have a wife, 3 small kids, and if I didn't quit, for you, those of you listening out there, people don't read books about people who quit. People read books about people who overcame the toughest of obstacles and did it and found a way.
Well, I'm so impressed, and thank you for sharing that, because it's important for people to hear that, you can go through awful projects like this and still come out on top. So thank you, Marty, for sharing that. Let's move on to the second half of the podcast, and this is what makes you a badass. And I knew sitting next to you that I was in the presence of badassery. So I used the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What is a book that has made a huge difference in your life?
Of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and everybody answers that. And E-Myth.
I like E-Myth. People don't talk about the E-Myth. That's a good one.
Well, yeah. E-Myth, again, is that it defines what a real entrepreneur is, as opposed to someone working their business or working on their business. And without that, you're going to work hard unless you understand the E-Myth on your own, or read the book and understand it. You're going to work hard the rest of your life.
I love it. Very well said. All right. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received? Oh, Jesus. You better learn to take care of yourself, because no one's going to take care of you.
Well said. Well said. Very good.
My mother used to say that. My mother's a hard-hearted. Better learn to take care of yourself, because no one else is going to do it.
Love it. All right. The D in badass is drive. What drives Marty to be successful?
I mean, definitely my family, but even before I got married late, and even before I had a family, I wanted to do great things in life, in business and in ministry. So there's just my drive is that I can, so do it. And people are out there waiting for other people to make a difference. And so it's really others is my drive. But of course now my wife and my 3 sons.
Yes. And you have a beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you.
I got to see pictures of your boys, and they're just adorable. I love it.
Yes.
The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter, so what is a goal that you are currently working on?
I would like to have, within the next 2 years, 500 units.
Wow. Goodness gracious. How many do you have now?
0.
I love it. Aim high.
I sold all my rentals, and I regret it, but I sold them all, and I'm starting, but I'm going out of state now. That's why I had them in Jersey. I want to go out of state. So
awesome. The first S in badass is systems. What are some systems you have in place to help you achieve success?
Google Drive and checklists.
You said Google Drive, it cut up for a second.
Oh, Google Drive and some checklists, really, that just help to, know what's needed and just keep following up on, the progress and trying to stay a step ahead and anticipate, which I think Fortune Builders really does well, what to anticipate before you start a project. So those systems, and it's a little boring for me and tedious for my personality and everything. So, but you have to do it. You have to have just a simple, I haven't really found that software that works for everything that we do yet.
Yep.
So Google, just right now, I just use Google Drive and spreadsheets.
Yeah, and there are some checklists out there that I would be lost without. So I'm glad you said that. All right, the last S is success. What does success mean to you?
Enabling others to reach their goals.
That's awesome.
So, so to be able to be at a point where, yes, I have an abundance, but just that isn't enough, I think, to be able to help others get abundance. I believe there are people in my life that really had an opportunity to help me in areas, and they didn't, and I can't, I don't say that negatively in a sense that, oh, they should have, I hate them now. No, they just didn't see that or have a heart for that. And I thought, like, if I were in their position, I would want to be able to really help people more, not give them anything, help them and drive them to a future, and that is greater for them.
Well, this is why I just like you so much, Marty, and thank you so much for being on the show. What's the best way for the listeners to find you?
I'm a simple guy. I just Facebook and Instagram are what I use right now, and they can just you can easily get me on Marty Happle on Facebook. Is probably the best way.
And that's Apple with an H, Marty Happle. So thank you.
Yes.
It was so great meeting you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. So that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.